Okay, for Yamamuna Ajo, maybe a mobia, so Ahoya no pa, Yamawachi, Yahoya, Yamawaha, baby, I will Buchi, so I America, we say good night to you. Right now, there's a very beautiful program that is going to be introduced to you by Elder Philip Ofuri and Tim, one of our beautiful sons who have enriched themselves in psychiatry. He has a good news for everybody all over the world. So I cannot just introduce anything to you than him himself trying to let you know what he has for us. So at this point in time, I'm going to say, Philip, the floor is open for you. We are here to listen to you and have all the questions that we have. Please prepare them. Who will question be added? Yes, or I was some of the canon. Utimi Busai, after Utimi call your line, so 240-280-2633. And also with my text here 510-931-0946. Etimi a wakasa na debi a ohia bia obetimi dia bra betimi yi anoma wo. Etino sabre ye best in kuma Philip. Say the line is like open for you. Thank you very much.
Yo, Pastor Medase. And then you may have a cap, Adrian Pumudin Wasem. Now, last week, and I said the last time my name was shared, Meka HM was there. There's a difference between mental health and mental illness. Though Nina FI Adrian and some home. Now, Adrian Pumudin, any Adrian Yarian in Social Credit, means I and Kenny Nebio, a sign, Emra, Nipi, and then Ninti. Me try say me run it through quickly ene de no na afede se musa hodo a ye wono ye de aba na ene de me no ba be ka ho asem no don't ask don't tell we be ka say na no so de efa ho be de akoye ne say who say be peke phrase we fi in the US military no before Obama no na they had this thing say you can't ask somebody about the agenda therefore, they cannot also talk about it if they choose to. And I quite to say in our community, especially the Ghanaian community, mental health is something that we don't ask about, we don't talk about. But the emphasis here is that the fact that you don't ask or talk about it does not mean say it does not exist. And we're going to go through some of the conditions, right? And then you realize you may know someone with some of the symptoms, or you may have had some of the symptoms yourself. So the point I'm making is don't ask, don't tell. The fact that you are not talking about it does not mean it does not exist. But let's also note that has been repealed. So because it's now been repealed, so part of why I chose that phrase as the topic. Now let's talk about it. Right? So let's move from the timer. Na yenka wasem. Next is bra. So understand they say it's okay to talk about your mental health because once again, there is no health without mental health. So let's look at some data real quick. 46% of people who die by suicide had a known mental health condition. Near nimse or more agreement problem be out of all the people that die from suicide, emu or ha chemu eduanai ensia. And a women attempt more suicide, but men are 4 times more likely to die from suicide. What men can do, women can also do and do better. But in this case, yes, they attempt more, but men die more. And a bipolar, any schizophrenia, these are 2 different mental health conditions, and as a mental illnesses. These 2 are patients or patients with these 2 conditions are more likely to die from suicide. Okay. So now, let's share what depression is. He said, so follow me. Me say, yeah, about don't ask, don't tell. And you're my young with someone sem, it will be a depressed crumple now. On person or beka one sem, on persons or bejia too. But then the fact is that uji two more, 1 year to more, uka once more, one can once more. Symptoms in the honor, and it's there for everyone to see. The consequences, as soon as one also will go through, right? And what are some of the symptoms? A bad enemy who say me with depression. Once after the or you feel sad. And I also say, what bottle would need atinka and I say in Kenya be I say would be you have loss of pleasure or interest in doing activities you once enjoyed. changes in appetite. Into obi when they are depressed now, they tend not to eat much. Obi also now they use it as a comfort measure, so they overeat. And yes, any appetite does unti. But as why depressed now, oh hundi no hunti no. A manner at the year at the day. Okay. And obi also they have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. The man is say obetumi ada. And also say oda enche no sorry. Saa nso na obi wɔ hɔnom nso na ɔda so much. So either the reduced amount of sleep or difficulty falling asleep or sleeping too much. And energy and increased fatigue. So either they lose energy or they have increased fatigue. Tembia no abre. And also oni ahoɔden a ɔde bɛdi dwumadie bi. Sometimes they tend to have increase in purposeless physical activity. Into maybe one more year and yet the boapayoso or yet, but it tends to happen. Feeling worthless or guilty, difficulty thinking, concentrating on making decisions, and a thoughts of death or suicide. That is where it gets much serious now. And when there's those thoughts of death or suicide now, let me quickly add also say people who attempt or die from suicide with depression, it does not usually happen when they are very depressed, right? It typically happens when they are picking up. It's in why is so depressed. They have all those thoughts of death, suicide, how they're going to do it, why life is not worth it, and all that. But at that point, the energy, the zeal, and the interest to act on their thoughts, so as they start to get out of their depression, that is when they start to or they tend to act on their thoughts. And to make a say uni obi wo honom na un say why depressed na say oboa na one ka na afi de utimu say in Kenya ba honom na meka say be more mindful, be careful, because hono ana bra or fam no adwa hodo a go through the mind ni nyina no. That is the time they may act on those thoughts. And that is actually the time you might want to keep an extra eye on them. Okay. Now, with that, and also they may have different symptoms. So it's not just depression, right? Your depression or honor. And I will be also a friend in mania. You can be a manica, right? And it's part of the bipolar. No, once we get into mania, no, nature so depression and sometimes you get manic, and I'll explain it further. And I unipolar depression, and then they stay at that one constantly, almost all the time depressed. Now, your BBC friend is seasonal affective disorder. And I wanted to throw this in there because of the season in which we are. This condition typically happens around the winter time. And I always tell people, say, let's pay attention to nature because it teaches us a lot of lessons. One, you realize, during late fall into winter, everything tends to go down. So leaves are falling, colors are changing. Everything, the atmosphere is even gloomy, right? Everything tends to go down. Everything looks depressing. So as that happens, as human beings, so we react to nature. And to go say environment, gloomy, na sun, all of that. I'm saying then you're falling back with the time. If you're on the East Coast, right? And your brass and your money air happen. It affects us also because our outdoor time is now limited. Our interactions are limited. The sunshine that helps us is limited. The leaves and everything else that nature provides to help with our mood, becomes limited. As that happens, then you start to have the seasonal affective disorder, in this case, the depression. Let's also notice, it do spring as well. Everything springs up. So everything becomes blooming and all of that, life begins again. Around that time of the year, you typically see people with manic behaviors. Okay. It's, we respond to nature. And I said that to also say, let's spend time with nature because it teaches us a lot and it also helps us with our mood. Okay. Now, share anxiety, right? So anxiety, now be friend stressor and no honor. But stress in itself, any anxiety, but it may lead you to having anxiety, depression, bipolar, or any of those, right? So if someone is anxious, what are some of the symptoms that we'll see? And we've talked about depression, everything going down, everything going slow, everything being on a lower pace. So when you're anxious, it's the opposite to an extent. It's the opposite of being depressed. So you find out that the person becomes restless. As ontimi ntena faako na ne ho keka no na obu ono so na oye anxious at any given time for any reason no so a obu say na start 1850 obu man in fifre no beba the normal places that we sweat at armpit and all of that maybe one so aye nsem at 1850 pa. Okay, and they feel constantly on the edge until na I say 10 bia no bibi ba besi until we be okay. Because of that, they are easily irritable and and they have difficulty concentrating. Into once a racing thought, adrenaline namsa. Okay, insomnia because of the anxiety, the racing thought, the inability to sit still, and that soon to me end the year. Okay, and now once again, everything is moving fast, everything is upbeat and all that. So they tend to also have fast heart rate. Into most of makomano about peri, right? And no honum. We also not the tightness of the chest. One here now so we stroke and also say we cardiac arrest, but not necessarily. It may just be because of the anxiety attack that you're having. And now you also get shortness of breath. Esa said the normal oxygen exchange level no enkosuntino after the ohumia insiso. Na after the oyemi oya. Ebu onma what pen or say assembly simiyem, right? So they get anxious and then they have that reaction and then they have to use the restroom. Okay. So now back to bipolar, no, which includes the manic behaviors. So they may have mood swings. And that is where they go between depressed and mania. Because of that elevated self-esteem and euphoric moment, and what they need bro so be a omanya no end. And to know be no now after there, I said all of a sudden they are working so hard giddy throughout the day, throughout the night. Yeah, I see a quedo or pay or yeah, den they be tobo be na bipolar na manifested in its manic form. Okay. Obu on so that the symptoms a manico on the spending spree into autotonoma anka on shedden here. Be patient about could be auto sticky parts, what try idea was on what's in all the atari baby say auto no $500. Okay, because they were she was manic at the time. Yes, it may all be symptoms of the mania. Around that time, you realize that they were wild colors. And into the Marcus Lutret, and maybe if for those who knows him, and maybe he's a Ghanaian celebrity. Now he's into the psych space. And he said people who wear blue colors and red colors like wig in this animal or bipolar. And that is where it comes from. When they have the manic symptoms now, they tend to wear bright colors. And that is why you realize more of this, during the springtime, because everything is springing up, everything is colorful and all that. Therefore, we also respond. We dress up accordingly. And they also tend to have pressured speech. You can also be a pressured speech as a okasa, a content. So you realize it said through my presentation, there are times as a mekasa na AI, me patcho me the symptom at least not diagnosed. But the NTA be a me contem ne say me person me yeti me bobo me brace. It may be similar to this, and I say sometimes it's even faster than this, right? And now there is that inflated self-esteem. No, who this you may be one ma any so be to me aye. They take on more risky and adventurous behaviors. And a purposeless activity. You may be all year in faso and shed needs to be sa, but umuhuna or ye. Obu also they become hypersexual. So once again, for those of us who follow the Ghanaian media, Abna Koko, who used to work at TV3, right? If you follow her, you realize that there was a time where she came out mentioning some names of people that she allegedly had affair with, right? So she has come out to say she has bipolar, and as part of her symptoms, she becomes hypersexual. And remember, I'm patching mention so any scholarship. We want my yare, Anna yare okay.
Yo, Elder, my person maybe share a question. Bina, ebi a watch it in so ebi ana nitibo no. Me to turn yema pa. Da bia no na me go so turn yema. Ebi kwa me ntiki stock of yema na me turn. And when checking music I spend. My dream say the fufu na aba no me kotobi. At what kind of classification as any pan we put in? We no so just say we work the way bibia we bia say be need ho we bibia kama. And so no so the city turn him no ya na uncontrollable. Any person no we feel say the condition we fall into it.
Okay, medase. There could be 2 or 3 different conditions or me are falling into. And before we can say X or Y, there has to be other factors you bet me the carbon near Timiaka. But to say the mechanic, so be or bipolar with mania na. And no, a year na a buff for a period. Right? And to say mania no etekwa sa excessive shopping no and also so te. But so a manic and said that is part of their symptoms now. Then it exacerbates and then they tend to buy more. It is so you'll be your name so bipolar. Now also say or what some of these other symptoms in be a cajon. Let's say a back for a period then we can say ABN bipolar, then they got manic and they were doing that. Now they have this low self-esteem for which they buy things to appease themselves. Into obi on ma career baso celebrate we should be enti na ye no so akwakoto bi oh bag we say Tommy Hilfiger say me cry ana me so ebe ma me mudie akoso then no akwakoto bi oh enya sisi ade abaye Ted Baker no akoto Ted Baker right but me bubo di Nigeria say ni nyina me tobi o but obi on ma matekwa enti no obi on ma sana or they a copy with the self-esteem. Okay. Obi ono so na ebia no a hoarder. Me patient ba ku bi. Ono every the garage sale. Every garage sale bi e be ko so woni area bia no oko. Ne fie ayema, ne garage ayema, ne living room ayema, ne dem ayema. Still oko adam say enya also ye garage sale ni bi na ton bi. But I say dem go first keep me na. It will be on man a hoarder, and then they just tend to buy those things. It could be various reasons in here people go on shopping spree like that.
Omo hoarder na say omo I mean you have treatment there. Consistent buyers just to use them as a coping mechanism. A convention unu betia ubetini aboa no na we identify themselves or bipolar and this is the stage a woman or to.
Okay, and your NTC treatment in the superco. Now yenka about all of that and from whom into the patch of me answer and be wakakra. So Tebia Mekachenko for there are 2 things that really helps us. One is therapy, the other one is medication, right? Into psychotherapy and I say psychopharmacological treatment. Into the say I psychotherapy now, it is more of non-medical form of treatment, which includes it's now no can history, baby into a quanche style. Na meka say me bi papa bi busa me say na empanimfo ane ye do omo afie na no mututu yefo ne sa ne mani nyina no can we classify them as therapists and my answer in my opinion is yes. They may not have gone to MSN for their MSW and I say BBSA, but by experience we can say so. Make case asem so. Make case so say ye ebusuemu no as Ghanaians ye amamre ne amane no enuma bi wo ho a na eboa yen pa but esa say ye tutu kwan we ni bia ba we tete se mabusua ne no ane me yi eja Opoku Agyaman ene mame Dora ene ne ma no eno ane ebusua no. But then you realize it's first na we had the extended family if you've ever had a challenge with babysitting with Chroma, you understand what I'm saying. I'm fortunate to say my parents lived with us, right? And to be babysitting there, you know, which means to say the ability to have that extended family to reach out to in case you need help or no, it's part of our psychological and social support system. That is the psychosocial. So that social support that we have helps us psychologically, and we are able to cope with so many stresses. Okay, so that is what we mean by psychosocial support system, and as a psychosocial treatment, the social support which helps us psychologically. The next one is faith. And this treatment now make it goes beyond just shopping, because we say you can't mental health in general. And you know, this treatment goes beyond just shopping, but me the tie in. So faith also helps with our well-being mentally. Jidia me was supreme being be muntino. Meaning say ebia na enye wa ohwe nyina ana ye na ehwe nyina na ebia ye Christopher necessarily ntino. Let me use that. Jidia me in the supreme being muntino. I know say mende me ho, therefore there are certain things I cannot do to myself. Esa sajide no so am in a supreme being munsuntino. Say no maybe chire me so I have someone to go to or fall on. And the faith in itself, also helps. Then it comes to the recreational time, Ebra ye fie di akodi agro na ye spending time outside more nature outdoor time no eboa ya dwen no ema ne nyina no etimi di mu. Partly say ebra ye di agro na ye exercises no, the body releases some chemicals which makes us happy. And I'm yet to see someone on the playground or gusu di agro na odi areho. What you say? Into the side of money nyina eboa. But sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we want to be so enclosed. If we've been bubble child, I say, "Oh, dear, young come once a year for moon pier, I see a bomb by from Kubi." After that, do bet your grass when you allergic reaction to it, and it's real. I'm not making this up. Ubuonuma, yeah, the national dema after do peer do a call a deal diagrona. They had allergic reaction, serious one. Okay, Anna Adriani so ayedi. As part of our mental health treatment, we should be mindful because a new many be it exacerbates our symptoms. Example, yenim ye, and I like using this one. Udi esichia, e maoye kekakekakakra, right? Intine more frano, it's a top the binafide, odi nukuni you want to make sure say we're regulating sugar content because it makes them hyper. Apart from that, let's also note that carbs, carbohydrates now, it burns into sugar and all of that. We might want to be mindful of what we eat. In general, when the cranet down, so and I said, I depressed me. I also check anything the Bible say for the Christian brothers and sisters. Bible say, it bro so right? It's in the affect us mentally. And now, therapy. As I mentioned, you go to a therapist, they provide all those kind of professional help. Yet, if you cannot afford or if you don't have the professional help now, you can use any of the people around you. Then medications. Sometimes people have perceptions be about medications. But let me say these two things, and then I'll move on specifically to Pastor question. So, two things about medications, and they say we are weighing the risk versus the benefits. And see, I'm not withdraw we are in also, right? We always weigh that before we do. Then the second thing is the quality of life. After weighing the risk versus benefits, how does it affect your quality of life? Then we also weigh that, we manage and try to make sure say you still have your quality of life and not be too symptomatic. Okay. It remember and yes, oh, minimo be our fair drobi no I say, minimo be of fair drobi na a man I say. Sanso na misu minimo be of our blood pressure draw after could do so now money diabetes. Misu minimo be our no so far blood pressure draw and ban blood pressure and the button down, Emma will trash and into beja no manner. What do I say? And I always like to liken medical conditions and medications to that of psych, because it's so easy for us to comply with medical issues. But when it comes to mental health, yeah, we have all the excuses in the world. Okay, now to the one that buys so much, I would say me know what na me nya hu sa o card be. What they say, okay, because once you have access to all of that, that is what makes you use it. So you have to take away those things, they don't go on the shopping spree. Secondly, you have to let them know where they are going. In most cases, with bipolar manic phase, they tend to know, say they are as a bar. And I have some of the patients that will tell you, say, who say a bar, then I hand over my card and everything to my husband, and I said to my loved one, say, I don't have that risk of overspending. Okay. And secondly, you want to be involved in their care and treatment. There comes a time where who say bibi kosu obi mu, then we just want to pull back. No, actually, that is the time to be involved. Then you can gain their trust, and then you can be part of their treatment. But a banner so withdraw there, and yet I feel now by me, dear menye a brow quechi. I'm saying my answer now, but I hope it helps.
Yeah, let's have a question here. With the metro back to I'm right now okay depression has some of the symptoms now prevail with depression. But again, no, who can say they are very catchy as they say. During this period now we'll go through depressions. Now suicidal rate is low. Now say or regaining depression no a year. So regaining strength in it. And or high risk of committing suicide. Lay people are impressed in your film. And I back romance no. Man be brave on more problem be power, depression. You knew how to define the definitions out there, my meaning. It is amazing about one why depression after will go up, and I say will feel depression. Say me who say who be or say we bet me commit suicide. A combination say me ba was at you man bet me fast one. So the way all pass through the process now the regaining consciousness on commit suicide.
Yo, me that said. Say obi depressed. As I said, just end the my earlier submission. We have to stay with the person. And to some reading in our no ebusa no or to say we no then I will drain home, right? If they are able to open up to you, this is very important. Let's not ever think it says somebody talking about them being suicidal. No, one, it's a sign of weakness, or two, it's a sign for seeking attention, or three, anko beya anko onka. Enya no kre. The American motimazi. One, is not a sign of weakness. Two, is not a attention seeking. And three, it is not a case of say anko beya anko onka. Because obu ornoma or culture, because that is what they are really into. Like agria ekos woni trimuno. And ebra only na edin komo na obua no na providing all that kind of necessary help no. You kind of gauge the depression no baby edina kodru. Any agria ekos woni trim. Therefore, you after gauging and noticing say possible suicide is part of baby on pakonedru no. Now, say a banner said no who started coming like no who started say a turn na or regaining the level of functioning now. Then you want to make sure say extra measures are put in place to where the person do not harm themselves or somebody else. Lady Bakubi Amenini program who had very similar situation. What she said, and I am a person who used to practical examples. There are two of me. What she said, they said at that point, the mom made sure said they never had their eyesight off her. And to baby obekobiano, it was obieni dinechi. Whether consciously and the patient being aware of it, or the patient even not being aware, but you keeping a close eye on the individual. Okay. And say be a weapons be with you more lethal. You want to lock it up or take it out. Okay. Say ban say obey na what they may use may not be as lethal, and then it creates that moment, and then you'll be able to really catch up on it. Well, if you leave any lethal weapon around, that's by the time obey now let's always assess the environment. Make sure there's nothing lethal around that the person can use, because I can't say we should make sure there's no weapon, because kitchen knife will crumple a weapon. But let's make sure we have the least lethal weapon around as much as possible. Let's also keep an eye on the individual, continue to engage in their treatment, and then they will open up and let us know what is going on. If even they don't and they attempt, then you'll be in the known immediately as it happens.
Okay. But that name is a question. Question I'm saying, Biba no mabisa.
Okay, yo. And somebody will ask you, say, anxiety. Sometimes you hear somebody talk about panic attacks. And when somebody has a panic attack, is the abrupt feeling of impending doom. As a BB, hubi, eba betono. Into the badness, and a man yam shen at once. Nes I am shen a shenono, a man responding to it. And like it's a state of fear of impending doom. So, example, one patient I had, she was in the bathroom, and then he had the panic attack. I know dream be careful bathroom hosa. He pushed the wife away and ran out because they're chasing and what do I say? And it's sana. Typically, people respond. Obu also extreme musa. Somebody may be there, have a panic attack. Now, for the nakuma, I started so then in the mind, it feels like something very horrible is going to happen, right? It could be that mild, it could be very severe also. And agoraphobia. That is someone with a fear of sebibisia mean to me the fear of unable to escape from somewhere. Into example, Washington, is very huge, right? So, into your fan say my bar, then I sit by the entrance. Esa say soon to me bantem. I want no go did them. Now you're digging for papa could be on refinity. Now about ana mumbre ni mo. Men person me ko anim ti them bad tell say be met na ba bia menya tena ye no. But now you want me to go forward. If I have agoraphobia, my fear is if I sit in the middle or anywhere, if something is to happen, I won't be able to escape. So for it to set my mind at peace, I want to sit by the entrance. Then I have a feeling say BCA me dashing is here me call. Into ye dikin for ne ushers na mu no. Yes, when ye nyina na ni mutran boye. Into ye pe baby a ye pese ye tenanti. And ye bante mo mbebaliti na ya munko eni. All right. And your social anxiety. Enti social anxiety ni ye say ebia me ko nipa dodo mu. Me di nipa dodo mu edwumadi a emma me anxious. Enti obi te say me say a make asa mano dasui. A wedi so akrachi di na no ate obua. Say me woni nipa mu na say me di dwumadi bia na I have that anxiety. Okay. Me typically me nipa bia me frere ade me nipa din. Enti say me di nipa dodo ni ma dwumadi bia na I tend to have that. And you realize it, say, and I always tell people my symptoms. Say, two reasons why I tell. So that you know that it's not a death sentence. Who will be also to me. And secondly, you can also learn from my coping skills. So one is same free. Into say we have been in 4 D command. I say me presentation within 4 doors. Culturally, they might think it's but it's not that. What I said, that is how I cope. It was a woman.
Let me ask a question. You see, answer when you related to Paibo any sorry. yawo yankwala bi yo honom a atomre bi a na omo either say omo e very omo anxiety disorder CV and say omo mental depressive disorder na ya ofo so ni mo mpae ma no de bia no ohia mpaebɔ na de bia no mo bɔba san kofo na titi sa no ne mpae no yɛ bɔ no impact be na nyama nkwara na mo these two conditions.
Yo, medase. Term biano, and actually typically in the entire link mental health conditions with spirituality. Oh, who massive. But meshe maka say whom wo honum dear. Say nyame wo ho dear na bonsam so wo honum. And you know, yes, those things are there. But enye no kreso say adwuma pomudi hu nsem nyina eye hu nsem. In the same, I always tell people say Obi say, oh, you have diabetes amobi, you have stroke amobi, right? And it means to say, if even we believe in that, it's not limited to mental health. Make say, empire dear a year. In any case, or see if I didn't na uncle Yankupo or one pipe. But one can say no soon tino, menko who do you for? On the вечер. Or see do you for Cassiano Swabay. And we have to go to God with all our problems. Yet, let's also seek mental health treatment. So, some men now, or they are crying, some na kwa da nem pai bonkwano. A bro call hospital now, doctor and catcher said, when you moja brosuono, one limited to pai bonkwa. Obisa doctor said they do better menfa. Emi mani lesi no pro. And so, koba bofrane DNA dia, any DNA de ayem pai bonkwa. Me shema kase. It is okay to have Christ and to have a therapist or a provider, practitioner. Into the measure, enro wo hodom, therapy wo hodom, to me edesasa yarewa we nyina. Meme ye njan ento mpaebon kwa so. Said you be no. De nipa betima ye no, Nyankopon emfiri soro embe ye maye. That's
Yeah, Anna, they're talking don't ask, don't tell me. To me, I say, our real no. Yeah, you don't know now, you couldn't a bit me depressed. And I say, or more to me anxiety. A convention there, our real, you bet me, you move back, bit me depressed and anxiety. A convention a bit my first, identifying it, my boy.
Yo, a quiet bit my first when ya dear, a quahudo bebre so. Any form of stress,
yes.
Obia balance or person busa question.
Okay, I can't have with it. You hold me question, it is a question.
Okay. Hello.
Yatonka.
You with the doctor, the master program on Modeva now. No question, the question is, you ain't Ghana for and send you her and a diagram. Hey, we look at your Francis, so we need to an album place name. And I said to the girl to me, say, I deal with them, Miss Celia, and I'm making. When do we take those words serious from again? Because they say, who said, I'm all for form where you know, or Mompranum, what you say, yeah, no, I think how. But and I'm saying, funny, maybe, come up and then the fan of a tour, making young funny serious, you know. I am not yet. When do we take something like this, you know, serious? Do we report to any time of the other India? And I said, when do we take such offenses serious from our Ghanaian community? That's it.
Yo, medase, but that for you Tennessee, or coca beach and neba, and on the back, also like, and yes, seriously, or coca was school. So my father said, if I mess up this my shoe, he's going to kill me. Yeah, the Neko disciplinary committee was school one, not a professor's one. But Mekaka was say, as my Eka and rightly so, there are certain things I will say it jokingly. How do we know, say, we say they may find it serious when somebody backs their actions by any their words by any forms of action that may patrol taking it serious? It is so okana say pupu ye bia and ma wonya inclination say unya obeya may patrol taking it serious. But who say, as you rightly said, a part of our lingua, and Charlie, this day if you do me, I will kill you. Next who say okay, jokingly he's saying it and no crampo no down also. What I say, and be watchful for any inclination say on your bayampa, then take the necessary steps. But say Kobano so say the ebeke bia na near report there But
my main probe question my main probe ni oh say when no yere na tifi ena be ma no answer no be ka say wa ade awe de wa hia mekunu megunya me na moto aso ya mekunu ade be nyema na oba no anase be ma no so hu efa asetene mu a one ne ye ne to ho no ma ema sa asamra wo kan ema ne taking it serious.
Okay. And you know, what's a boo or no ma? In some cases, no, as a or don't cry no, and that could be a way out. And you're back. But back to mental health, and also, no, you may find some symptoms as the person responding to internal stimuli. As well, they may have some psychosis going on. They may have some delirium, be air coso. They may have some paranoia, be air coso. And in any odd symptom, then you might want to be mindful of it and be careful, right? And secondly, asema ye kano if it's jokingly yen can pizza. What am I saying? Yen can pizza. And to know say, oh yeah, bibi no be say, oh wait, oh yeah, me proud. Oh yeah, me proud. Me patch at that point, you know, there be it's beyond ye diagro. What am I saying? And thirdly, no, so no. Say obi eka bibi sachewa me patcho take the time to probe the individual further to ascertain say whether it's a joke or it's a serious thing. One dimension. Now wait me after if you hold on. Okay, now and then be also na mehu ewo obi hu a mehu say hey adiwe there ebia I can't take it lightly. The other thing is when they say ebia say they are becoming more dangerous to either themselves or others by words or by deeds. Or their emotions are changing. So we may have to pick on it. But once I see it gets to a point where everything becomes normal. And you know, oh, did I go? Oh, and oh, don't see. Oh, it's now hosa. You know, so I saw him for line. So, it's now hosa, but only a do be them. And you know, sir, no money, it starts with physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, method towards the lady or the man. Now, for the gugusu near to hosa, now for this threat comes on. Near gusu te home. Oh, a banner, we might want to be careful. All right.
So okay. On the other hand, no, the opposite say as I said, ye share asiten mu yi. Na yehu say ade bi a asi a intense da say toaso a ba ko mi na say take caution about it. And so ka say mu no ka say weapon. Ebi a no put honum na so no ireti wo say lekun o. Maybe I will na okototu abetri edem na wo hu. Like I say, kuma obekun ni bresempa. Right. It na as a ho asem ka. Won twema anadwo a wada no metwitwi no yeden. Enku. Anaso wo bai wabo wano me se bi abo. E no ba no say ene de ahwe ya de besifia moni nye ho a. Say as a otufio ana anya bibi tisa.
Exactly. And so if you hold no compassion because at that point, you know, he's not in the right state of mind and he may act on it. Or we are not the chance at or planning. No, and to the money in marketing to be a better we have to pay attention to it. But in most cases, no, was started with some level of abuse, which we neglect. And you know, so I can think it, you know, Sacraman Kumano. I'm going to say, Bobby, to go now for the Wabessa Bobby, no question. Oh, and you know, the best Sanya man kitten na share. Let's take it seriously and then take the necessary steps towards it.
Well, the American Yakona, my person will a question. Argentina or title, or two things said, don't ask, don't tell.
Once again, it's because they say we have a culture where people don't ask about people's mental health. Obi adwuma po mudi ho asem no ase ye suro se ebebusa ho asem. Ana yeso ye mpeso se ebeka ho asem. But thanks to Obama administration, Omu repealed that don't ask, don't tell, Lord, no. So I want to also say that fear about talking about mental health, ye repeal it, ye fi hono. Now ye open up, ni intimi ni hu komo ni enka wasem. Na bra ye ka no. Said the mpedifo ka na bra oton yare na onya no eduro. Ti bra ye ka ho asem ni di hu komo no. Ye betimi anya moa. Ye betimi abo obi nso afiti bie bi mo wom. Na enyina ye timi atena in harmony.
Oh, okay. Meto say ube summarizing ye ukai ni na mai na afi ye wo be 15 minutes bi ni nhwe say obi amusa question afi na ya wo question kaka bi wo ma ebi a metimi abusa ama abo say o person na ebusa question ansa na wa summarize so a
Ye nyenesa.
okay ma me musa say ye market one se bia wo ba ketua bi ne no wo fie na ana say college student bi wo ne wo fie da bia na wo hedem mpie da bia wo hedem mpie a obeba so na so wo mu na bi wo kasa no ase ne bo funu bi sa again ebo ama no de na ya na ekoso wo mutrim ho.
Okay. A normal minu anamiensa and a man a basa. Who says when they get into the teens, to the early 20s now, they feel say they are also grown and matured. Hence, a premature, feeling, and say, honestly, open space. Mommy and them kakra it is that feeling and not usually they want to have that separation. And we are back home. They also feel that their world and yours are not connected. Into no better on the mind mobile number be a brand no be quiet and fan ho. So no yen oh no so a word in it and commonisha because we're not having so much common ground to have conversations in it, it breaks that separation. The other thing also the digital world they find themselves in. And it's much convenient and easier for them to be on the phone and probably even text wo papa no TV na or person or casem chon. And whilst on the phone also the whole world is in their palm. And they have access to too many things at the same time than sitting at one place to either have a conversation with you or watch a game with you. Or it becomes boring for them. And the third thing is when they say they also tend to have they see your friend they say social separation due to gadgets tools are accessible to them. And their social skills ankasano enye papa. And we want to encourage our youth as much as possible to put the gadgets down and have human to human interactions because there is a place for it. When we have that human to human interactions now, it gives us the happy feeling, gives us the oxytocin, it gives us all the hormones here to be happy and stay healthy. The other thing also may be a hormonal changes that they may be going through. And it affects their mood also. Therefore, can cause the separation.
Question be why free Ghana. Na the person the busa question we answer na yako Ghana question na busa also. Always say COVID by you say nkwala bebre no motifi most of them are depressed. Whilst hiding in their rooms. Dear na a causes that depression and dear ben you they are resolved that depression.
Okay. Part of their outlet was say Ombeko school. Almost every teenager biano feels to say the papa and mommy are boring. Almost, right? In few cases, no one will be on any mommy and papa jelly pa. They feel say the mommy and papa are boring. Or more feelings will say the mommy and papa hagging. And more outlets and they say Ombefifi Mako school, spend some time with their friends and all that. And also it gave them outdoor time, which is also very healthy. Since you are now Omakefie I only baby alpha. Na so tina pass Opoku watching na say na doke ekeke gunu so sa na fatu ha yifi amenye say they have too much of that. They don't have anywhere else to go. They reserve to they withdraw to their room and they stay there, which is causing their depression because at that point minya bibi anye yeah, kind symptoms of depression now, lack of interest in doing things, lack of energy, there is no zeal, none of that, right? And obesity depression, they can say, oh, go out, spend some more time with friends and family, loved ones, go out to the park for a walk. Go, since I mean to me, yeah. And then I'm forced to stay in, which then fuels my depression. Until anytime we're not having interactions with people and all of that, it does affect our mood. And until around that time, there was a high rise of cases in depression and anxiety.
Okay, Ghana confirmation, me news to be Ghana. I think that me pese yingina woman answer bi na etimi the boy oba bi na esi no ne ku tifi. And for some reason no or adamfo baako bi o am say accidental area ho ba. And papa no for ono ne nafo ne di nkomo anadwo no oba na yire am say so person ne yeses. Maame no ampere so ofa second chat twitwa maame no akunu. ɛna ne ba baako a ɔyɛ sɛ ɔkɔ akɔgye no nsɛm sɛ ɔde sika nso ɔde gyam no ma ne ti fi nti tell person no na ɔkɔ no mu tumi kɔ rescue na yɛkɔ so ofie mu yɛkyi papa no in this context wogye di sɛ ɛyɛ saa time na sexual act no ma na mpere nko nti ma wokum no na sɛ there have been something that was going on all in the family nti na ɛkɔfa saa maame ne wuo no baa.
There's no smoke without fire. I highly believe it said there's something that had been going on. Bibi akoswa, and I know the or the excuse keke. Most likely there's another lining factors. It could be too many from the fact to say beyond your banning in the audience of banning for the chinti no money. It could be so say ebiana ne bema semunu nko ye. There are too many. It could be so say no problem on his of his own. I know I manage it. I know the yes, sir.
Nti na ọmụ a yɛkunkum yɛn ho saa no ɛyɛ deɛ nkɔmɔ das homicide no ɛyɛ a na wonyi ne sɛ biribi te sɛ ebi a bɛrima no anya depression bi ɛna wakɔ sɛre that kind of idea no on killing the people no ɔkiri na yere na anaasɛ ebi a wotumi kum ɔmo mma bi saa.
Yeah, and I'm say the maybe no one has a problem of their own. And it could be said they may be having psychosis, it could be said they may be having depression, it could be said or more, it could be too many other problems. Okay, now
yemra anxiety no ne mania what time in the day and nipa betimi anya anxiety and what time in the day now in the course of the anxiety no obeye ne bipolar nature no be ko ebia obekọ bia obeye very mania na so ne tifi a watini ehu se me ba no bia na me kunu na me yere no edu sa time say ya we dey say me ko ye because me ye we ya ebe trigger na na call this stage and as me ye we ya ebetimi trigger na na call this stage. What time in the day na saa nneɛma wei na ta ekinsisi na triggers bɛn ɛna ɛwɔ hɔ a etimi ɛma sa ɔyɛ maniac anaasɛ ɔnyɛ maniac.
In terms of mania, no, there are different reasons. So go on no ma, ebi assembly to no bibi esia etimi mania manic. Depending on the stresses, as I said, the obia stress are different, right? Go on no ma, ebi financial, academic, marriage, children, all of that. Into obia stress are different. Into a stressor can cause that. Two, the change in the weather, and so betimi will be ascending into mania, especially during the springtime, you know. And who that condition no. And thirdly no so no ebia na didie mu na dwumadie bi mu etimi ma na ebasa ebia adwuma mu nhyeso bi ekoso ene sa na mani nyina no etimi affect you nipa ko ni mood e ma ne ba.
Okay, and you know whether time I cover 5 minutes into no I didn't remember how quite my umfa and summarize it near wakache and then na ya fa dwumadie no mawie.
In summary, no, Mecca say, don't ask, don't tell has been repealed. Hence, going forward, one, let's talk about our mental health. Two, let's seek treatment. it is not a death sentence to say you have a mental health condition. Si eka so bi wa adwuma pomodin a problem bia na me pacho yembo no ntu owutu so nti no emwa wo honom ana yaresa so wo honom nti yempe bi se wanya so na emma wapomodin nyina no ensipe, because there is no health without mental health. When I'm depressed, when I'm anxious, when I have bipolar, when I'm schizophrenic, se madwe no emu na honom a apomodin bi enu honom a ehu hia me. Enti ne yenti asesa na yentimi ntu ho anamo na beboaye.
Ade pesa uma afutu bi na say na me kan Ghana's health omo health summary omo for the whole year, I think say 2018. Na me say omo ka say ade a eye short e wo country ho pa mental health. Now, from woman nurses, no, apart from paracetamol, and another Cape Coast hospitals be any one be a more mental health on. And until now, a for any a conforming as software be, I am who psychiatrist or multitude sorry, the sank for your rehorma, it didn't crave woman. And it's the same now, one me actually said, don't ask, don't tell. America, say, Yama, Islam, and let you know, will be at you, wish us other. A quite sure future then I'll be Ghana for. So they are Ghana for me who said mental health is an issue because according to one way, you know, say every 10 person be a vision be the 10 person no have a mental issue. And it's no convention of it me Apua Ghana for na ye ankasa that thing kasa you may be a caution ya brabo mo and you may be a yin for baby no a mental issue and be bit me deal with it never for trouble with brain.
Yo, a foot on is really just about the same. Once again, actually, the World Health Organization says 1 in 4 be or mental health condition. And in the Ghanaian community, no, Esa say yen kan wasem yen ni hu komoni yen siki hu treatment, it makes us think it's oh BBI you okay. The other thing is, if you look at the budget that goes to the Ministry of Health now to begin with, is what comes to mental health, and it's just about the 2% of the budget that goes to mental health. Clearly, 2% of by Emma the Abraban yehwe so be ne de no as individuals so yemfa ye hu jim kakra wati also koya ambassador na di hu adanse kacha manfo na eno so entimi mboa with the treatment centers right now no in Ghana no all the district and regional hospitals in Ghana no omaye mental health facilities ewu, so right now it's becoming more accessible and more community mental health, and also I have to say Kumasi crisis center no amokuko efie mo ne me ahodo ekoboa. They are opening up, but of course, there's so much more. But as individuals, the message they say,
Lastly, say yeah, the say mental health, and yet I did to say what how you come to your casa when your mental health is so about that. And now if you're creating free on your to about it. You say you be health center say be alcohol. If you any young man to be a TV when you're chibia, be on the zone or the spirit be a cotton so damn be and now do be now between they have anything. I think you've been almost
yo, me try to make us say mental health is not a spiritual condition. Sebe, the only be of you don't quite be on the or a bay for. Oh, you can know if you know, I actually say, oh, before that. Abu be an watch, no, mammy be on my no on no crab predi or be predi. It's no measure. Sabe near the bobo amount for no, mummy shady, and I say, so I jeep in a canoe. And if you attack anyone for spiritual condition, I'm a power who must have in court. And to see a child police station, you will not be able to answer. But in the spirit of mental health, make I say, I do my pomodin honsem, enya beisem. Enti no say obi wo honom na say bia or is betting any symptoms now, it may be part of their mental health conditions are enko yentia. Yem seeking the right treatment for them. Ne pa say ye de omo ekwakobo ebra ye de omo bekọ akọbọ eduemu ana ye de omo bekọ asọrọ da bi ho na ya ye omo yi no eno no emboa ebeku omo kwa na eba de sanso a omo jai wo yesa that's it.
Okay, let me come for yentum yada wasi bebre ewo highlight or be highlighting ewo mental health. I'm say obi a oba and I would tie sase ni bi ne depression say the city or depression signs and symptoms of depression ho. Wa me we say in depression no it was two stages bi a one maniac form and a depression form. And I already call anxiety. My say anxiety so me a share and be ma you high anxiousness city and was a church and signs and symptoms. Enti wait no and never be out here so we say a sudi e obi mu a na say and say ukọ no bayi say nipa ko no kasa kasa no bi abayi bi na ato no na ye bayi na ato mo de answer mo de no beko ayansabia bi a ebe wo na fi mmoa bi a ɛsɛ ne nsa bɛka obi a no ne nsa ka bi sɛ kasa bebrebe no nkyerɛ yare ɛyɛ adwemu haw bi na ato no nso yɛ wɔ ho mbraeɛ a yɛbɛtumi de ama wɔn enti yɛnua kuma Philip yɛde nyame asomdwe gya wo bebree ɛna atiefoɔ nso a wɔtie yɛn nso yɛda mo nyinaa ase maame no a ɔnso kusa yɛ questions yɛda wase sɛ wɔn nso bɛbusa saa question hia paa fi sɛ te sɛ yɛn ho sɛ nkɔfoɔ kunkum wɔn nkɔfoɔ twitwa nipa ekum wɔn Ghana a ne nyinaa no ɛfa baabi no yɛ adwumuhaw ɛna ɛkɔfa saa nneɛma nyinaa ba tie nya ano yie a ɛneɛ ɛnɛ ano yie na yɛn nyinaa yɛntumi ebi abrɛ yɛn nti yɛda mo nyinaa bɛtie nyinaa ase nyame nhyira mo nyinaa o yɛbɛsan hyia bio na atwe se nɛ sɛ wowɔ asɛm bibisa bi a wɔatena mu sa no a yɛsa atoa so aka kyerɛ sɛ wobɛtumi afrɛ yɛn ɛwɔ yɛn phone number 240-280-2633 so anaasɛ wobɛtumi atɛkse yɛn ɛwɔ 510-931-0946 akyire no wode ba a yɛbɛtumi de ho mu ɛyɛ abrɛ wo yɛde nyame asomdwe ma mo nyinaa o moma baa